Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk about the power of awareness and this how our awareness can heal anything in us. So here in this audio I'm going to show you through a story how awareness healed me. And I'll start by explaining what I mean by awareness. Awareness means that you are how can I put it? We all have a lot of information. We know so much about healing, about the different modalities. We know what to do. We know, for example, that if we have the addict archetype, then we know that that substance is not good for us, right? But knowing that that substance is not good for us may be just information. And if it is only information, it's not going to help us. But what if I am aware of the fact that that substance is hurting me? How would that look? If you are aware, then it's not only your intellectual mind that is grasping it, which would be a very small percentage of your whole self, right? But it's every part of you is aware of that. Every part of you is aware that that behavior, that substance, whatever you do, is not good for you. And if every part of you knows that, meaning that every cell of you has heard it, every cell of you has seen how that is destructive for you, if you get to that level of awareness, automatically you heal. Automatically you stop engaging in that destructive behavior. It's really automatic. But most of the time that's not the case, because we know we're only aware, let's say, at the intellectual level, but the rest of us is not aware. And that's why the healing doesn't happen. And if you're only aware at the intellectual level and you're engaging in a behavior that is destructive, it means that there's another part of you that thinks that that behavior is good. And you're not aware of that part. So let me go into the story. Through that story, I think it will be much clearer. I remember that I found myself engaged with a few people with whom I did not feel good. And I would go back to them, there would be different gatherings with them, and I would find myself over and over again going to those gatherings, and each time I would dread them. And each time after the gatherings, I would be like, but it was okay. Yeah, it was fine. They're nice. They're sweet. And so I would tell myself that, and I would see that, nobody's really a monster or anything, right? It's like there's two sides to everyone. So I'd always see those positive sides at the end of the gathering. But then when another gathering came up and I knew I, quote unquote, had to go to that gathering, I would feel dread again. I wouldn't want to go there. And I would call my friend. I would always complain about that. And I remember one day there was this gathering where I was there, and something incredible happened. Because as I was interacting with the people there, suddenly I went into what I call the observer mode, which is that it's almost like I was out of myself, and I was just impartially, in a very detached way, in a completely detached way, observing what was happening to me and to the others. And I wouldn't be in that observer mode throughout the gathering, but most of the time I was there. So I started seeing how I was behaving. I started seeing how other people were behaving. And I started seeing things about myself and others that brought up a lot of discomfort in me. Because I started seeing that I was performing. I wasn't being myself. I was acting in a certain way to be liked by them. I was acting a little bit dumb at some point to look weaker and less threatening. I found myself having all these judgments in my mind against these people. But I was smiling at them at the same time. I was being very hypocritical in that moment. I wasn't being myself. And I was, and I couldn't stop the observer mode. I couldn't just stop it and distract myself. I was completely in that mode, and I was just seeing myself performing in ways and seeing all these behaviors that I did not like. And again, I couldn't stop it. I was just looking. And then I saw other people and the others, how they were behaving, how they were going into very specific archetypes and acting in specific ways to, again, be liked. For example, some were playing the victim. They were telling how they were victimized by other people all the time. And others would play the mother that would cuddle them and tell them how nice they are and would cuddle them with pity. And it would go on and on and on. And it was just horrifying at some point. Because I could see, just the way I saw it in myself, that they were also performing. Because the more you're aware of yourself, the more you will be aware of others and what is happening in them. It's just the way it is. And throughout the night, I was, and this is what I'm calling awareness, I was being completely aware of what was happening. And I also became aware of the fact that if I was being so quote-unquote nice, that I was being so hypocritical, that I was not being myself, that I was performing, that I was trying to be liked, it was because in that moment I was in fear. Throughout the gathering, I was feeling so much fear. I was in panic. So I was not being myself because I did not feel safe to be myself. So I had to show up in a certain way to protect myself. And I realized that they were also doing the same thing. And I also realized that we have been doing that for a long time, and maybe forever. And that this was everywhere, where we just cannot open ourselves up to the other because it's too dangerous. It feels too dangerous. And when I felt the level of panic and fear I was in, in that moment, something snapped. Something changed. And I remember saying, and it was in a very calm voice, saying, I will never be in this gathering ever again. I will not endure this type of gathering ever again. Because that was self-betrayal. I was in fear, I wasn't listening to myself, and I was betraying myself by being there, by interacting in that way. And because I was betraying myself, because I thought I had to in that moment, because I was in a limited mindset, I thought I had no other choice, that's the way it is. Automatically, a part of me had to come up with strategies to endure that, with strategies to survive that experience. And thus, the performing and so on and so forth. And in that moment, what was happening is that I was being aware. Every part of me was seeing, feeling, hearing what was happening around and what was happening inside of me. Like no part of me was blindsided anymore. It was all crystal clear. And that's what I call awareness. And this moment always reminds me of the scene in The Lord of the Rings where Gandalf and Frodo and the others were running away from this big monster, a black monster with fire in his belly and all around him. And they were in some kind of a tunnel underground, excuse me, and they were running away. And as they were running away, the monster was faster, and so he was getting closer and closer. And there was this moment where Gandalf, was stood still. He was on a bridge. He stood still. And instead of running away, he told the others to run away, but he turned around. He turned around and he faced the demon. And he looked at the demon. He saw it. And when you start looking at your demons, they're never that scary as they are when you imagine them in your mind, when you don't see them. When you look at them, they become clear. And so he looked at that demon, and it was his demon, right? And he said, "You shall not pass." And you can do that. Anybody can do that. If you have all your energies with you, if every part of you is aware, if every part of you is looking at the demon, and now all that energy, all of you is on board. All of you is focused on that, and you're seeing what that demon in you is creating in your life, what that demon is showing you about your behavior, about your choices. And then if you remember, there's that moment where the demon stops. There is a fight. And then the demon falls into the abyss. And as the demon falls, the demon takes Gandalf with him. And this is incredible because this is exactly what was happening to me. Where it's like you're pulled down into the abyss of your unconscious, into your shadow. Let me call it the shadow. So that you can become aware of what is happening inside of you. And it's that demon that is going to take you there. And it's almost like you become, because that's what happened with me. I was mesmerized by everything. It's like every part of me was curious about that demon, about what was my behavior, people's behavior. I was just, there's really no judgment actually there. And I'm becoming aware of everything, every part of me. It's not only my mind, because I can feel it in every cell. I can smell it. I can taste it. I can see everything. And suddenly your whole past comes in. And the more you become aware, the more you start even becoming aware of your mothers, your ancestors, your aunt, your uncle. Everyone will come up because you will start being aware of their behavior because you're continuing that. You're part of the lineage. And that awareness will stop that behavior, that way of being, that destructive pattern right there. Because now you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And it stops. And it's just amazing how it stops in a second. Because now you have not only every part of you sees it, every part of you is on board, because every part of you knows that that's not the way you want to go. You're not running away from it. You're going towards it. You know it now. And now because you know it, you have all the ingredients, you have all the knowledge. And based on that, you're going to make decisions that are constructive, that are your preference. You're going to make decisions that are empowering for you and for everyone around. And that's going to be and there's going to be a flow to it, because now you're not running away from the demon, but you've integrated it. You've integrated all of its knowledge. You've seen everything, and now you just can't back away because you know now. And so that all that energy now goes into your preferences and what you really want to create. And it's really amazing. And I remember that I went through that. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it's not easy to see all these behaviors, to be aware of certain things about yourself and others, to feel into that fear, to feel into that demon. But it's totally possible. And if you want that, you're going to be helped. Everything is going to be given to you so that you can face that. Because in that moment, it's not like I decided, okay, today I'm going to see it. It just happened because I was ready for that. And so all the help, all the guidance was given. And I remember, and it was the last time that I was in that gathering. It was the last time that I was in that type of gathering. I just said it once, and it happened, and everything changed. A lot of things changed in my life afterwards. I took completely different decisions. It was just very normal, natural for me to do that. But the incredible part that happened, which I loved, and it's that the incredible bonus, is that after a few days, I was with some people and there was some alcohol, and I drank the alcohol. And I took a few sips and I was like, what? And I just couldn't drink it. Because it felt as if someone took a hot iron and was ironing my insides. So it was just horrible to drink it. So I stopped. And suddenly I realized that my need for alcohol was not there anymore. And I realized in that moment that I had healed an addiction, or an addiction was healed, I should be saying, because alcohol left me. The need for alcohol just went away, like in that second. It just had no purpose in my life anymore, because before that, I needed it to feel better, to feel good, to feel high. But from that day on, I just could, it wasn't that I didn't like alcohol from that day on. It was that it became neutral. It just left me. Because I didn't will it out. Because the healing had happened inside of me. And so that alcohol had no purpose anymore. It didn't need to take me further on. You know, one of the biggest reasons I needed that alcohol was because I was betraying myself. And from that time on, I wasn't. You know, and because of that awareness, an addiction just dropped away. And I tried, a week later or a few weeks later, I tried again once or twice, because I was like, let me check it out. Let me see if this is actually healed. And I tried to drink it again, but I just couldn't. And that is also what awareness is about, is that you become more sensitive. And so there are certain things that you can't do because they're too painful. And becoming sensitive means that you're not numb anymore. Because you can eat a lot of bad stuff and drink things that are not good for you. But you can only do that because you have desensitized yourself, because you're numb. And there I wasn't anymore. So automatically I couldn't continue with that addiction. So let me stop it here. And I just felt inspired to share this with you and to let you know how awareness is amazing. It's really an incredible tool for healing. And how even with Gandalf, we see it, how in the end he transforms and he becomes the White One, right? And so there is this transformation that happens, and you become a new person, you change, you transform, and new choices are made afterwards. So if you have any questions or any comments, let me know down below. Ciao, ciao.